Numerology. I know when a lot of people hear numerology, the glaze comes over your eyes. They're afraid that they have to be like a quantum physicist, no algebra. Folks, if you can add and subtract, actually, I don't even think we do that much subtraction. If you can add
Mm-mm.
from first and second grade, you're golden. Okay.
Yep.
And the other thing with these nine number energies, what I want to get across to you and maybe start bringing to your conscious mind from your subconscious already has those nine numbers. Because for the last few decades, or some of us, 5, 6, 7 decades, um, we've been working with numbers. You and I have been working with the numbers 1 through 9 our entire lives. And normally, yeah, we see them as quantity, three apples, seven pears, we're counting, right? Even though we look at it that way and we don't necessarily think of the quality of the number, the energy, we still have that in our subconscious because, well, for one thing, it's how the universe is put together. Ask any mathematician, any scientist that uses numbers, and they'll tell you, oh, yeah, the universe is made of numbers. So we already have a sense of this, and you can bring this up into your conscious thinking right now just by thinking of the numbers themselves, 1 and 2 and 3 of something, and 4 and 5. Nine's at the end. So it's the last number. What happens at the end of something? Completion. One. What happens with one? Well, that's the beginning of the number. That's the start. I mean, we have an intuition about this. The number four is really big in our human experience. There's the four cardinal directions and the four seasons and four walls to make a room. I mean, everything has this four. And three and two. Think about it. Okay, two things come together and they make the third thing. Mom, dad, baby. And actually, the four is the baby, three is the creative um, part of it. It would be like the pregnancy, let's say, put it that way. But we're going to go through this um, PDF of the number energies. But before we do that, energies. What do I mean by that? Well, Pythagoras said, and yes, it's the same guy 2,500 years ago. He's the father of numerology, but also, do you remember the Pythagorean theorem from math class? Do you remember that? Yeah, most of us don't because
Right.
I don't usually use the Pythagorean theorem very much, which shows you don't have to know that kind of stuff, algebra and everything to do numerology. But see, like like things were back then, they didn't see separations between like astrology and astronomy. It
Mm.
was the same thing. Same thing with mathematics. Okay. He's doing the calculations. He's got, the 90-degree triangle and the Pythagorean theorem, and all this stuff while simultaneously doing numerology. And we think that he got the numerology and probably most of everything else that he did from his captivity when he was a captive in Babylon, Persia, Magi. Have you heard that word before? The three Magi, Christmas. The Magi were astronomers, magicians. That's where we get the word magic and magician from, is Magi, and great mathematicians and numerologists. And we think that probably that's where Pythagoras got all of these ideas about numbers. In fact, Persia created the zero because the zero didn't exist. If you went to Rome, there was no zero, and that's why the Roman numerals look and function the way they do, as opposed to our system, which is based on the Persian concept, 1 through 9 and the zero, which if you think of tarot, the Fool card, it's the total possibilities of everything that can happen. And then those things manifest at 1 through 9. Okay. So what Pythagoras told us is that numbers have a value, like we said before, 2 trees, 4 rocks, counting, but they also have a quality or an energy. And let me see. I wasn't planning on doing this, but let me see if I can share my screen here. Um, can you guys see the PDF?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So this
It's a
might make,
little off-centered. Can you move it to your left a little bit?
I
It's
sure,
cutting, it's
I
cutting it off.
sure, like that.
Hmm. Let me see. Maybe it's my screen.
I'm
Oh,
not.
Yeah, it looks good.
okay. Well, it must be mine then.
Okay. It's
There we go. Okay, got it.
it's just Pamela, and yes, we have those Pamela moments. Uh,
Technically challenged.
yes. So here we go. Numerology number energies 1 through 9. And so to get an essence of working with numerology, I want you to think of the numbers in terms of an energy pattern, an energy. And it's funny because we went through all of March and April, a few shows in April, uh, all talking about numerology, but we never talked about the foundation of it, which is the 9 numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the number one represents new beginnings, leadership, independence, and self-reliance. Think about it. One, singular. Also, just look at the actual physical drawing of the number one. It's phallic, it's masculine, but it's single. So of course, independence, individuality, right? People with a number one often exhibit strong willpower, ambition, desire to be in charge or be on stage. you know, um, and when it says people with the number one, what we're talking about is it's in your chart. You may have a lot of number ones in your chart, or it might be your life path number, your attitude number, your destiny, or expression number, they call it nowadays. Um, and we did a show just last weekend on your life path number. You're just adding your birth, and this is what we said. All you need to do is, second grade addition, right? Or first grade. Add all the numbers in your birth date across and just keep adding them until you get to a single digit. The number two, look at the number two. And I'm hoping that even having my screen sharing up, you can still see us on the side here. Look at the shape of number two, right? It's got all those curves. It's the most feminine number in numerology. So you have one masculine, two feminine. Symbolizes harmony, balance, cooperation, and diplomacy. Balance. I mean, if let's go back to Roman numerals for two. You got two of something, and so it's balanced out. That's where the balance comes from. Number two, individuals are often good at making connections, fostering relationships, and finding common ground. They're great mediators. They're great at counseling, being a tarot reader, hypnotherapist, traditional therapist, anything like that. But it makes a lot of sense. Originally you have the one and it's alone, it's singular, independence, leadership, beginnings. It's the first number, self-reliance. Along comes another one. Now you've got two, a couple. So that leads us to three. Represents creativity, optimism, communication, and enthusiasm. Number three is often referred to as the number of the comedian and other performers, musicians, artists. Number three, people are typically good at expressing themselves. There you go. What did I just say? Inspiring others and bringing joy to the world. Joy to the world. Yeah. So, if you think you got one, you got two, and they come together, you've got three. And there's a lot of ways, it could be a partnership. Two business partners come together and create an organization, a business, a project. It doesn't have to be, mom, dad, and then the child. But that is another, analogy to that. So then it brings us to four. And this is the first time we get to like structure. You need four of something to like four legs on a table or chair, four walls to make the simplest of buildings or rooms, and so forth. It's structure. It signifies stability. You can have a three-legged something, but it's not always as stable as a four-leg thing. Signifies stability, organization, practicality, and hard work. So one comes together with another one, two, and then creates three, and what they manifest is four. And think of that. It's the number of the first manifestation. Double four is eight. We'll get to that later, which is abundance. You can start to see how this all fits together. Number four, individuals are reliable, dependable, and excel in areas requiring structure or order. A lot of people with a four life path, or even four in their destiny number or attitude number, tend to gravitate towards that order and structure. So they'll want to join the military. So you guys remember a host on our network, Mary Brown, for years. Mary was caught in the throat here. Hold on. Mary was a four life path. She was in military intelligence. Yes, the oxymoron, military intelligence. In the Army, I have a four attitude number. I was in the Air Force. Also, first responders, EMT, firemen, policemen, but also the medical fields and psychology and anything where there's structure, architects, even construction. It's not that, and when we're talking about these qualities and everything, it's not that like a number 8 will never be an architect. They have to be a 4. No, that's not what we're saying. There's a tendency. And when you talk to people, especially those of us that are numerologists and do a lot of people's charts, there's 9 numbers in the chart. Imagine that. There's 9 numbers in numerology and there's 9 numbers in the chart. You'll see a lot of that in numerology. And those of us that do thousands of charts and we know what the people do and what their personality's like, and we've done readings with them, we've had conversations with them, you start to see these patterns that a large number of police officers, of military folks, have the number 4. 5 is the adventurer. It's that adventure energy. It's breaking free of the 4. What do I mean by that? Well, see, 4 is structure, but it's the first structure. Double 4 is 8. That's later on down the line. There's a tendency to get stuck at 4 and never progress. Okay. Not that that's a bad thing, but it means you don't get to the higher numbers. And when you're stuck in this lower level of structure, it requires high energy. Think about it. Doesn't that make sense? It requires high energy to break free of that. So that's what you need five for. Five is high energy. Let's see what I have written down here. Represents adventure, freedom, change, adaptability. Number five people are often energetic, curious, and enjoy experiencing new things. So think about it. We call it the chaos number in numerology. So when we got to two, we had balance, right? But even four is balanced. But the odd numbers, yay, happy Easter. The odd numbers are unbalanced, you see. You've got 3 and 2 and 4 and 1, and to make 5. It's unbalanced energy. And that's why things can get chaotic. So like in a world year of 5, especially your personal years of, if your personal year is 5, it can be quite chaotic. And even on a day that's 5 throughout the month, even the 14th of the month reduces to 5. The 23rd of the month reduces to 5. All of those days can be chaotic. And so that gives us information. We need that 5 energy to move on to 6 and the higher numbers. But we would counsel people with, say, a life path 5, or I shouldn't say that. A lot, they're the adventures, but if you're in anybody of any life path, you're in a personal year of 5. That's when you ride the roller coasters and you just go with the flow and read books and go to movies and have a good old time, get out in nature, what have you. Don't make big decisions. Don't sign contracts. Don't buy expensive things, that $2,400 refrigerator or a new car or a new house or get married or have kids. Try to avoid the 5 because it's the chaos number. But knowing that going into a 5-year, we are prepared. So 2 things. One, we know that it's high energy. So what does that mean? We can take that energy and we can do a lot in a 5-year. But we also know about the chaos. So how does that help us knowing that? Well, forewarned is forearmed, or however that works. Anyway, we know ahead of time, so we don't let ourselves spiral into chaos. We're able to stop ourselves. So we break free of the 5. 6 is a return to harmony and balance. 6, we're back to balance again. 3 and 3, right? So 6 symbolizes love, nurturing, responsibility, and family. The number 6 individuals are caring, compassionate, and often have a strong sense of duty. I'm a 6 life path. And it works really well with that 4 attitude. Strong sense of duty, you see, and helping others. So that fits into everything I do now, but also going way back to when I went into the military. The 6 energy, strong sense of duty, combined with the attitude number 4, an attraction to structure and so forth. Then we move on to 7. This is the most spiritual number in numerology. It represents introspection, spirituality, intuition, and wisdom. They're the great detectives. They want to know how everything works. And because they want to study these things and do genealogy charts and things like that, they tend to be, or at least go in and out of hermit stages. And so that's one of the things you need to look out for, is you don't want to get stuck in the hermit phase and not get out, into the real world. Number 7 people are often quiet, contemplative, and strongly connected to their inner selves. And then there's 8. Remember, double 4, double structure. It's the number of abundance. It signifies ambition, hard work, success, and material abundance. Now, That doesn't mean that everybody that has an 8 life path, 8 attitude, 8 destiny number are rich. Or money even comes easily to them. Often we're working any of these energies in the negative, which we talked about when we did the show on life paths. When you look at what the essence of a number is, and you have that number in your chart, and you go, oh, I'm 180 degrees backwards from that. That's because you're paddling upstream. You're going against your normal, what's a good word for it, guys? Your normal predilections, your normal, what's
Your normal characteristics?
that's close. Yeah,
That doesn't
characteristic.
sound right either, but yeah.
Yeah,
Programming. It's your normal programming.
it's what's normal.
Yep.
Um, there's a better way of saying it though, and I'm having trouble thinking of it right now. And I should have prepared this because this always
Your normal
like this.
routines.
Not routines. You have
Yeah.
you have in your energy you have regular. Oh God, this is awful. If you in the chat, if you could help us out, Dan, somebody in the chat, you have predispositions. You're predisposed to have certain characteristics, putting what you said and what I just said together, Michelle. And if you're going against those, that's first of all when you have a lot of trouble, but also where you look at something and you go, oh, well, that's not me. And it's in your chart. Well, of course, you're going against it. And this is a clue of why you're having problems. Now, all the numbers, like tarot cards, are a spectrum of meaning, but eight's the one where it's kind of black and white. I mean, money comes quickly and easy to you, or it slips right through your fingers. It's one or the other. There's hardly ever any gray area with this. Number 8 individuals are driven, determined, and often excel in business and leadership roles. Yes, if you're working that 8 energy in the positive. And by the way, when your personal year number lines up with your life path number, like if you're a life path number 8 and you're in a personal year of 8, wow, you can really manifest in those years, really excel and create abundance for yourself. But if you don't know this, and if you're working against the energy, paddling upstream, then the opposite happens. So, you'll go into somebody's house that's an 8, and, for some of them, you're going to see the Wall Street Journal and Forbes and all these, investment magazines and Bitcoin magazines and stuff all over their tables and everything, and they're day trading and investing and doing real estate and all this kind of stuff. And then, but some eights you walk in and it's completely the opposite. Everything is a mess. They have 2 pennies in their bank account. So that's the 8 energy. The 9 energy represents compassion, empathy, humanitarianism, and completing life's purpose. So, like I said, when we were doing life paths last weekend, 9 is the Mother Teresa number. It's the philanthropist number. Number 9 individuals are often selfless, generous, and dedicated to positively impacting the world. 9 is completion. It's the last number. There's only 1 through 9. Yes, there's master numbers, which, by the way, we talked about on our show about master numbers. Go. I think most of these you're going to find them under the. You want to go to podcasts. So when you're on our channel, we do like 95% lives. And you can either click on the live tab and look under lives, or we also send this out as a podcast, the lives. And so we have playlists. If you scroll down on our page, you'll see playlists, and there's playlists for each individual show. and for different things like workshops and interviews and so forth. But there's a playlist. The very first one is our podcast. And so clicking on that is similar to clicking on the live tab. And if you look through the lives, look for the one on master numbers. But master numbers are composed of the 9 numbers. So 11, 22, 33, 44. Those are the ones we most come in contact with and use, besides the angel numbers, which are triple digit master numbers: 11, 44, 77. And things like the only other one that I can think of is the only 4-digit one. And by the way, they go up all the way to, master numbers go all the way up to 999999999 yeah. But 4 digits is 1111, 1111. A lot of people see that number a lot when they're becoming more aware of messages from spirit. And then you'll start getting messages, which comes in the form of 333, 1111, 44, 55, and other strings of numbers. So 9 is the end. Nine is the completion. We are in a world year of 9. So we are completing a 9-year cycle. All of our lives are going through 9-year cycles. The entire world is going through a 9-year cycle. And then individually, we have our personal year number, which is based on our birth date, and especially our year of birth. And it's telling us where we are in the 9-year cycle. And our personal year cycle, for most of us, does not match up with the world year. So you have to look at both. There are a few people, though, that their personal year, they're lucky, their personal year energy is in alignment with their world year energy. So I just wanted to point that out and point out the differences too when they are different. So we're in a world year of 9. So this is completion. Completion is about reevaluating the last 9 years and letting go of what no longer serves us. So like beliefs, relationships, projects that are on the back burner, we're never going to get to them. And then figuratively, but also literally, like cleaning out the closets in the garage. What have you not touched in that closet or the garage for the last 6 months, the last 6 years? Because when we let go of things, what do? We create a void, which creates room for new to come in. So those are the 9 number energies. I hope you got and grab the PDF so you can study it later. And I hope now you're getting more of a sense of each individual number and it having a quality, an energy to it. And it may be not, I mean, there's specific characteristics which we just went over, but there's a feeling about it. 4 doesn't feel like 3. And just getting to understand and feel that energy and those numbers, it doesn't take very long. There's only 9. It's not like astrology. Oh, in the green room, Pamela and I, before the show, were talking about how we, looked into but never got really far with astrology because there's a lot to it. Tons.
It's better to make friends with a very good astrologer that you can ask
And let
questions
them do
of.
it.
And
I
then
agree.
hey,
Yeah.
are you thinking about this? And what do you think of that? And then they give you this long, detailed explanation that you probably won't understand anyway because you don't speak astrologist. But it's
Now, yeah. And just I talk about the life paths, and there's obviously 9, not including the master number life paths, because those reduce to those 9 numbers too. So I'm a 33, which reduces to 6. So I'm both the nurturer 6 and 33, master teacher, master healer. But there's only 9 sun signs, which is based on your sun position from your natal chart, I believe, not
Yeah.
astrology. There's 12. And that's just where the sun was. Now you have to look at where everything else in the sky was, so it's infinitely more complex. And I always say that there there's some basic astrologers, but like really good ones, you have to have been doing it for 30 or 40 years to be really good at it. That's why I know even 30 years ago, I knew that I was never going to get there. So I went with I went with numerology instead of astrology, and tarot instead of astrology, because I could get those and get them really quick. And that's the point I'm making, is you can do numerology now, just knowing those 9 numbers. You can, you can, without going into the further detail and the whole 9 number chart, you can just ask somebody, what's your birth date? And you can add it up, add the numbers until you get a single digit. You can look at that sheet I just gave you. By the way, we did a cheat sheet, life path numbers. And I guess I can shoot. I got to find that and put it in. But when you watch the episode on that, you'll get the link to the life
Yeah.
path number cheat sheet, and you can just look at that. But even without looking at that, if you study the 9 numbers and get a sense of it, you know what a 3 person is like. Communication, they're communicative. Maybe they're chatter boxes, maybe not. They like to entertain. They they probably were the class clown. Um, things like that. You know it right off the bat. If they're 9, they're a very nurturing person. They could be a nurse or a counselor. Same with 2. 2s are the great mediators. They're able to see both sides of things very easily. 1, leaders, the person that wants to be in charge, somebody that has a 1 life path should own their own business or be in charge.
Yep.
It's really 9, the philanthropist, the old soul. They also call it the old souls. They think a lot of people with 9 life paths are old souls. I don't know if I buy in on that, but they do tend to be very philanthropic.
Yeah.
They want to help everybody, and they also, because of their life experience, make great leaders. So both the beginning and the end, 1 and 9, leaders. 8. What do we know about 8s? Well, if they're working the energy in the positive, like we talked a lot about, they're going to be investors, and they're going to own their own business. Maybe they're going to own multiple businesses. They're going to be very successful. They have the potential anyway, right? What do we know about 7s? 7s could be introverts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, they're the great detectives. They're really good at that. They're really good at analyzing and figuring things out. On the weekends, they do their genealogy charts. They want to know how the universe works. And they call it the highest spiritual number. People that are 7 life paths, or in my example, my birthday is 7, the 16th of June. 1 plus 6 is 7. Those people are attracted to concepts like the law of attraction. They're attracted to, and it's funny, they'll be attracted to both like quantum physics and spirituality, like
Yep.
the law of attraction. Tarot, numerology, astrology, psychic ability, psychic clairvoyance, mediumship. They're attracted to all of that. And 2s are too, by the way. But they'll study the heck out of something. They want to know how it works. But that tends to make them either a homebody or a hermit, where they're on their laptop like me in my office, just researching, and they have to force themselves to get out there, every once in a while. And then, so what else do we know about this? We're looking at some qualities and innate possibilities for people and stuff like that. But by knowing this information, what can we do with that? Well, we can look at two individuals and we can predict how they're going to interact. So if you start dating somebody and you're that 7 we were just talking about, but they're a 5, what do we know about 5s?
Mm-hmm.
The chaos number. Well, it's high energy. It's the number of the adventurer. They want to be out there riding the roller coasters, going hiking, traveling around. The 7, opposite. So now we know, you sit down to do a tarot reading with a couple, and what's your birthday? What's your birthday? Oh, you're a 5 life path. You're a 7 life path. Or even if you're a 5 attitude and you're a 7 life path, or a 7 attitude and a 5 attitude, if they're in those, out of the 9 numbers, the big 3 or the destiny number, life path and attitude, but especially life path and attitude. I'm going to throw in personality though too, even though that's what's on the surface level, and the soul number is what they're really, we call it the soul urge, what they're really urged to have and do, even though that's not seen as much. Personalities, even though it's superficial, it's on the surface level, it's what everybody sees. Everybody sees your attitude and your personality, but they can clash. So I'm sitting down with a couple, and they go, I'm a 5 light, or you get their birth dates and figure out, oh, you're a 5 light path, you're a 7. How's that working out for you? Well, she likes to stay at home and do her genealogy chart, and I want to get out there and go do this. So you're able to talk to them about, hey, now you know why you guys are like that. Now you can compromise. It's like, okay, we'll have some at home movie nights and stay at home, and you'll allow me my alone time. I go in the office and do a few hours of research or whatever, or gardening even, or whatever it is your alone time as a 7. um and then, after that's all done, in the afternoon we're going to go ride roller coasters, or we're going to take a quick jaunt to the nearest lake, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, things like that. So you're able to see the where numbers in people's charts rub, and then that's a good thing, because you know what's going to happen, and you can go, okay, we can compromise on these things. Likewise, you can see why you're attracted together, oh, my birthday's a 7 and my partner's a life past 7, like that, or she's a 4 attitude and he's a 4 life path. And then there's the other numbers in the chart, and that's why you do a whole chart. It's the same thing with astrology. You can't go by, oh, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Sagittarius. Yeah, that'll take you so far, but there's a whole natal chart. And again, this is why we don't do astrology. It's too complicated for us simple people, and so it it's a whole bunch of stuff. It's not just the sun sign. Same thing with, life paths and numerology. There's a whole 9 number chart. You got to look at And if you're comparing with somebody else, you have to look at your boss's full 9-number chart and your full 9-number chart to see what the interactions are. You need to look at your kid's chart and your chart. The cool thing is, doing numerology charts are a lot easier than doing astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not especially in the old days, nowadays, okay, both systems have computer programs that spits it out. It's not like you have to get the ephemeris that's this thick and look up everything and do your demarcations and all this weird magical stuff that astrologers do to do a natal chart. You put all their information in, it spits it out. You're born on this date, this time, in this longitude and latitude. I mean, it just figures it all out. Same thing with, there are numerology calculators. You put in your full name at birth, the name you go by now, and your birth date, and it spits out all 9 numbers instantaneously. But still, you're getting a lot more information spit out from astrology than you are from numerology. So I still say it's easier.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah, whatever you're
Yeah.
you use the programs, use the apps.
Yeah.
Problem in not as much in astrology, but in numerology, is that they call the 9 numbers personality number, soul urge, destiny, intensity number, different things. Like I still say the old term destiny number, where a lot of calculators say in not intensity, expression.
Expression. Yeah.
Yeah. And they do that because, well, they didn't want people to think that, okay, this number is your destiny and what you're destined to do or something like that. And I call BS, and I just still call it destiny number.
Yep, me too.
Yes. So that's it. Just it's that easy, just getting to know the gist of the 9 numbers, which you already know because you've been working with 1 through 9 your entire life. And now you just get a more, read over that PDF free handout a few times. You're going to get an aha. I get it. I get it. This is so easy. And now, if you're a tarot reader or a psychic or whatever else you do, you can add numerology as added value for your clients. So when I get a client for a tarot reading, first thing I do is, what's your birth date? What's your name on your birth certificate? I did want to mention, though, is like some people might not want to give you all that information. So just get the birth date, because you get life path, attitude number, and personal year number, which arguably out of the 9 numbers, those are the 3 most important ones. You can work with that. You can just talk about their life path and their attitude and where they are in the personal year and the world year number. And that's about all you need. And then go into the tarot reading, but you're giving them all this great information. I love, though, when I do the full chart, because what I do is I take the name that they were given at birth, it's on their birth certificate, James Jack Johnson. I don't know. Anyway, and they go by Jimmy Johnson. So that's their power name number. And then the other birth certificate, big name, full actual original name, is going to give everything else, like the intensity number, the soul urge number from the vowels, the personality number from the consonants. The whole thing adds up and reduces to the destiny number or expression number, and there's a whole lot of other weird stuff in
I have a question about that. What happens if you were adopted and you know that the name on your birth certificate was different than the name on this birth certificate? What happens there?
That comes up all the time. You go by the original name and birth certificate.
Unless you do not have access to it.
Well, yeah, that would make sense.
And that's a completely different thing, if you don't know the birth name, but you still know what they're called today. So you can get their power name.
Yeah.
Elton John was what? Dwight
Oh, something.
Reginald.
Reginald
Reginald. Yeah.
something something. Anyway, he had three names. Yeah. Anyway, and he, but we all know him as Elton John, and that is his energy today. But he still doesn't ever get away from Dwight Reginald. It's still, you would use that to calculate his chart. But if we didn't know the Dwight part, we only knew he was Elton John. We still know that energy. We know the which is the power name, what you go by now, and we still probably know your birth date, and we can extrapolate, that information. Now, if we don't know any of that, there are situations where you cannot do it. You cannot do it. You can do this, by the way, on your cats and your dogs and your other pets,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to know the actual birth date and the name you call them now to get.
And you don't need to know the time.
That's another thing people throw at me. I tell them I want to do their numerology. It's like, here's my birth date. Here's the time of birth. It's like, no, that's astrology.
Yeah.
You need to know the place and time of birth along with the date, because you're putting that in a calculator, which if you put in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on, June 16th, 1964 at 12:35 p.m. By the way, that's me. You know,
Yeah.
it will look back through time magically through the power of digital and look for Philadelphia and look up what heavenly bodies were where at 12:35 p.m. on that date. And
Yep.
and that's how you're getting the natal chart. For numerology, we don't need any of that. We just need the birth date.
Exactly.
And if you want to calculate out their full chart, yeah, you need to get the name information too. But what I love about it, my whole point of bringing that up, is that I then type out a full report, make it into a PDF, and I email it to them even before I get together with them, either on Zoom or in person, to do the reading. And that gives them a lot of information, and they'll have a lot of aha moments and questions that they're coming to me to do a reading on. They may often answer their own questions, and it'll bring up new questions. And then when we get together, we'll pull cards on that, you see. So it just adds a lot of value, which means what? You can charge more.
Yes.
That's right. So there you go.
Because you're giving such a good information that they're going to want to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll do a show on charts, talk more about I don't know if we've done that yet, where we talked about the 9 numbers in the chart. I think we did.
I think
We can but
we
we can
may
do
have.
it. We can do it again. We can, talk more about the technical, how to actually do that.
Yeah.
Boy,
Now,
we went long, but we're having a lot of fun. I'm looking
I
at
don't I don't have it with me, like right here handy. But her name
yeah.
is Cheryl something. And there's no middle name, but it's not Cher, it's Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, she changed hers to just 4 letters.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you do that, uh, you're changing the energy, which is really cool. It's one of the few things we can do.
Yes.
You go through this 9-year personal year cycle, right? That moves. Everything else does not move. Your life path's your life path. Your attitude number is your attitude number. Your personal year number, though, moves. So, if you're in a 5 personal year, you can go, yeah, I'm not going to start that new business till the 6th year. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait a few months till it ticks over into the 6th personal year. The name, you're stuck with your birth name, even if you're adopted, name was changed legally, blah, 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 does not matter. You're stuck. Your destiny number, your soul urge number, and your personality number come from that name, period. However, the cool thing is you can change your name and then change the energy going forward. And that's called the power name number. We can talk more about that on another show.
Yeah.
There's, a lot of really cool stuff to numerology, but it's so simple and basic and easy to
It
work with,
is. It yeah,
you know.
it's fun too.
And it makes so much sense. And you don't have to know about what Mars is and Pluto and Sagittarius, and you don't have
Which house?
you don't houses, and then it gets even more difficult. Oh, by the way, some numerologists do make it complicated because they have these. I don't even remember the terms because I don't use them. They're bogus to me. I don't need that information. Just the nine numbers in the nine number chart, I can give tons of information to my client. I don't need to figure out these different time periods, and oh my god, there's like three or four different versions of that, and oh my god, it can get so complicated. There's also other types of numerology, which we won't get into, but you know, um, besides Pythagorean, but I use Pythagorean. It makes the most sense. There's other systems that are based on eight, not the whole nine numbers. There's others that are based on other decimals, 10 and 12 and different things, but nine makes more sense.
It really does.
I've been studying this for so long that it's like everything else, if I take a look into it, I go, yeah, but it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't make sense. The nine numbers make sense. That's the big thing.